Howdy YouTube, this is Steven, and I'm back with another photo analysis. This time I'll be analyzing the cover of BoA's album, Kiss My Lips. And this photo analysis was requested by YouTube user LV90047 space period. So thanks a lot for the request, LV. Alright, so when I first look at the album cover, I noticed that it's in black and white. So I'm thinking, okay, they're trying to go for more of a moody editorial feel with this album cover. And it does look, pretty artsy. And I think it's kind of cool that it's kind of like two pictures in one. If you notice, you see BoA, like her silhouette more or less. And also, if you look closely, you see BoA putting her hand over her eyes, and you also see her lips too. Of course, I'm assuming that the person is BoA. We don't know for sure, but it's safe to assume that the person is BoA. However, that leads me into the issue that I have with this album cover, and that is that you don't really get to see a clear shot of BoA. Like, this could be anyone if you didn't know any better. This could be a lot of people. So I kind of wish that BoA would have put more of her visage on the album cover. But nevertheless, I do like the album cover, and it looks like she took the picture like on maybe like a balcony, perhaps, because you can kind of see you can see a little bit of some trees. Well, it looks like trees. It looks like the picture may have been taken during the winter time. The trees don't have any leaves on them. And also it looks like you can see some of the building too. Or some buildings in the back. If you look on the lower right hand corner of this photo, it looks kind of like buildings right there. So I do like that background. But also there's a lot of white in this photo too. So that kind of makes me, for some reason, think of death, like the afterlife, perhaps. I don't think that was what BoA was going for with this cover, but nevertheless, that kind of what it makes me think of when I see all that white. Let's see, BoA's hair in this photo could be a little better. It looks like she might have, some split ends going on there. But it's decent. It's all right. I don't think that's supposed to be the main focus. Her outfit, from what I see, looks respectable. I kind of wish she would have wore, those long gloves that women sometimes wear with certain dresses. I kind of wish she would have worn like some long gloves instead of not wearing them and just having her bare arms there. And I noticed that she's wearing a watch. I don't think the watch is necessary. I think that less is more in this case. And let's see. I can see that if you look really closely, you'll see that within the silhouette of BoA, there is a photo as well. And it's BoA covering her face covering her eyes with her face. And I noticed that she's wearing a ring. I don't think she should have wore a ring. Like I said before, less is more. So I don't think that she should have wore the ring. And as well, it looks like she may have painted her nails, perhaps. But it doesn't look like she did a good job of it. It looks like it's a half-done job. So either, you paint the nails or you don't paint the nails. But don't half do it, I like the way that BoA's lips look in this photo. They look really, like, luscious, And I think that the mouth being slightly open as she has it in this photo. I think it works. Um, However, the title of the album is Kiss My Lips. So I kind of wish she would have done something a bit more alluring, perhaps. Maybe drew, used her hands to draw some attention to her lips, or either made her lips look a bit more puckered up, like they were about to kiss somebody, perhaps. But nevertheless, her lips look nice in this photo. You know, she's probably wearing like a nice shade of red lipstick, most likely. The pose that BoA is doing in this photo, it does it looks nice to me, but I think that perhaps she could have did a pose that was, I guess, slightly more dynamic, but perhaps she is going for more of a like brooding, vulnerable look instead of more of a empowered, um, dynamic look. But I do sort of like the pose. I just think that she should have straightened her back a little bit more, because it looked like like her stomach is poking out a little bit if you look at the photo. Um, and I know, based on what I've seen, unless BoA done had some gain some weight or something, or having a kid, usually, BoA's, she's a really thin woman. So I don't know why that happened, other than just the way she positioned her body. So for me, I do like the pose. However, I wish she would have positioned her midsection like more, like positioned it so that her back was standing straight up. And I think that would have made the photo better, increased the quality of the photo. If you look at the photo, it kind of almost looks like BoA is topless. I don't think she is, but it kind of looks that way. So that does kind of help add a bit more dynamic into the photo and help add some mystery, where people are kind of looking at the photo and really trying to, study and analyze it so that they can, totally see what the photo is about. So I think, overall, you know, this photo, the issue that I have with this photo ultimately is just that I don't see enough of BoA. Therefore, this photo can come off as a bit generic. It's like, oh, anyone, this could be anyone, this could be a lot of different women. However, I do appreciate kind of like that, the editorial feel with it, as well as the sort of surreal quality with it, kind of like a photo within a photo. It does have like a very artistic quality with it that is not present on every single album cover that you come across. And as well, is not expected to be on album covers, artistic quality oftentimes, at least artistic quality like this. Um, so overall, I do like this album cover, but again, I just wish I would have seen more of BoA's visage, her face, her mug, so that it would give, the album cover more of a unique quality with it, so that we'll know for sure that this is BoA, even though, we can read and all, but still, it's good to be able to just look at the photo and know, okay, this is BoA, BoA back with a new album, versus, hey, who is this? Oh, this is BoA, you know? And also, one thing that I just noticed, if you look toward the top of this photo where BoA's head is, you notice that there's a lot of light, to the point where it's kind of like overshadowing BoA's silhouette at the top. So I think they should have worked on that part a little bit too, to add more of a silhouette, or add more, what's the word, like just adjust the lighting a little bit so that you can see all of BoA, but overall, like I said, I do think this is a very nice photo, very artistic. This photo, or this album cover, does seem to have some artistic value with it. So I do give, BoA and her people credit for that. But like I've already said, I just need this photo to have a bit more of a unique quality with it. It does look nice and it does look artistic, but the thing is, like I said before, I just, like, this could be a lot of different people. That's the issue that I have with it. As far as BoA playing up the theme of this photo, I think she did a decent job with that. It wasn't the best, but it wasn't the worst. It was a nice touch for BoA and her people to add kind of like the picture within a picture, showing BoA's lips, thus playing into the theme, or the album title, "Kiss My Lips." So good job, good job. So overall, like I said, I think this is a nice photo, very respectable, very artistic. Overall, I think this is, and like I said, a good photo. A good, respectable photo. Just needs a bit of a more of a unique quality with it. And that's all. But what do you guys think? Feel free to let me know. Feel free to comment. Feel free to subscribe. Feel free to give me a thumbs up. Your feedback and support are extremely appreciated and extremely valued. Into the next photo analysis, adios and goodbye for now.